Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast, aka The Whip Show. And right now, you're railing with the World Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Joe Walker.
This episode is going to be a bit unconventional. I'm usually in my studio, but right now I'm on the road, driving, and I'm having some thoughts about my life in professional wrestling and the impact professional wrestling has had on my life. I had the honor of hosting an event, 517living.com's 517 Living Night. Shout out to its founder, Sarah Pierce. And while I was there, my role was to engage the people coming to the event, greet them, speak with them, make them feel welcome, inform them on everything that was happening during that day, help them be excited about what's happening in the community and why this event was taking place. This was a unifying event. This was a community unifying event. This was an event about being supportive of your neighbors, your community members. I was honored to be there. But while I'm there, as I am in most events, I am carrying a championship belt. Calling myself the World Heavyweight Champion, typically carrying a title belt with me. One of the things I like about doing that at public functions is that it not only draws attention and it helps to open up that pathway between me and another person, and to have a conversation. It breaks the ice. It also captures the attention of children. Adults ask this question, but children ask it more. They want to know why I'm carrying the championship belt. They want to know if I'm a professional wrestler. They want to know if I'm a boxer. They want to know if I'm some kind of competitive combat athlete. To which I tell them no. I'm a writer. And I explain to them that I call myself the World Heavyweight Champion because of how many times I've been published in the volume for which I've written content over the last 24 years. And then I also explain to them one of my biggest influences is professional wrestling. It's not my only influence, but it's a major one. And the men and women that I've watched from the time I was probably 6 years old until now, who have inspired me, entertained me, made me laugh, made me angry. These people taught me character development. These people introduced me to the art of physical storytelling. These people introduced me to psychology. These people introduced me to rapport. Professional wrestlers are experts at building rapport with an audience. And this is something that I don't take for granted. I commend them. I thank them. I'm grateful to them, especially the professional wrestlers that I've met in person. And I'm able to tell them how much I've been influenced by their profession and what they do. When I have the honor of standing in front of a crowd, no matter the size, whether it's 25 people or whether it's 2,500 people, I like being able to build that rapport with them, to engage with them, to make them laugh, to make them silent and focused, where I have their undivided attention. The words I choose, how I say them, the inflection. While I went to school and I took speech and I was part of drama and I had to do presentations, a lot of that engagement, I learned that from watching professional wrestling, from watching WCW Saturday night, from watching professional wrestling on Sundays on TBS, from watching WWF superstars, on to Monday Night Raw, Monday Nitro, SmackDown, ECW, Hardcore TV, Lucha Underground, NWA, Power to this day. The list goes on. I watched Global Wrestling. I watched Glow. I consumed a lot of professional wrestling. And I paid attention. I paid close attention to how they spoke, how they carried themselves, how they directed into the camera, eye contact. Even though when they're talking into the television, into a television camera during a backstage segment, during an interview, they can't see the person that's watching on television, but they're giving them their attention. And that takes skill, and it takes time and experience to develop that skill. It is an art. You are telling stories. You are painting pictures. You are helping people to visualize. You are helping people to understand and conceptualize. And I think this is one of the skills and one of the traits of professional wrestling that in wider media, wider entertainment, wider population of culture, it kind of goes underappreciated. And this is just my opinion. I think people who are not professional wrestling fans, who are not professional wrestling admirers, who are not professional wrestling supporters, and they're not close with someone who is, they simply don't understand. They don't understand what it takes to do what these people do. So many, the first thing they want to do is use the F word when it comes to professional wrestling. I've heard professional wrestlers be described as glorified stunt people, bad actors. So, some of the things are so insulting. And they've made such an impact on me, I take it personally. When I carry this championship belt, and the one that I had on at the event was the current iteration of the WWE Championship, currently held by Roman Reigns, the unified WWE Universal Champion. He's got the Universal title on one shoulder, the WWE title on the other, or around his waist. It was introduced by The Rock, someone I have tremendous respect for because of his work ethic, his entertainment value, his commitment to his role, his commitment to his persona, that I often go back and watch. I put in DVDs and I watch old segments of The Rock. I go on Hulu and the WWE on Peacock and YouTube, and I watch segments of The Rock. His way with words, his candor. It's astounding. And others. But that title, that particular title, introduced by The Rock, this is the one that I had with me. And these children who are fans of the current product in WWE, they recognize it, they come up to me, and they want to know why I have it. Sometimes when they ask the question, or they come up to me and they ask me why I'm carrying the belt, sometimes I don't answer right away. What I do is immediately unclip the belt from around my waist if I'm not carrying it over my shoulder. A lot of times I have the belt on, I'm wearing it. I unclipped the belt from around my waist and I just handed it to them. And to see the look on their face when they hold that title. I was at another event. It's been a few years ago. And it was an event about being supportive. It was an event for during the Flint water crisis. And it was hip hop for Flint in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So many tremendous acts were on that show. From One Below, Jose Moore, Serene Poems, Bronze Nazareth, June Mega, Lady Ace. It was an incredible lineup. But I spoke during that show. One of the things I said while holding the championship belt, and I don't remember which one I was carrying at the time, but I was carrying one. One of the things I did was pay homage to some of the recording artists from Michigan that had passed on. Kevlar 7, Mr. Everything, and just paid my respects. Which is what I would do if I was a professional wrestler. I had the honor of standing in the ring and speaking. I would want to first pay respects to the people who stood in those spots before me. The Macho Man Randy Savage, Owen Hart. I mean, the list goes on. Sadly, there's been far too many, so more than I can just run off at the moment. But then I went on to speak about why we were there. We were there to help raise money for people who are suffering. And I used the championship belt as my analogy. On this day, on that night, we were champions for someone else. We were there to champion a cause. And we were those champions, those voices. And I held that title up. And the crowd cheered. When I'm in public and I'm carrying that title, I have the responsibility of its legacy, the legacy of its current iteration, and all the ones that came before it, and everyone that's ever held it or vied for it. And when those children approach me, I'm also carrying the legacy of my own professional career, my own personal entertainment tastes, which involves professional wrestling, my own desire to inspire, encourage, and entertain people through the words I use when I write and when I have a microphone and I'm standing in front of them as a host. Those children approach me. It's an opportunity for me to be their champion. Not to discourage them, but to encourage them. To influence them. To place something in their hands and give them a feeling that they may never have. There are so many people on this earth who will never hold a championship belt. They never will. They never will. Whether in a profession where they can win a championship, some of them may compete for one and never hold it, and never know what that feels like. And I'm in a position with these young people who approach me at these events to hand them that championship and just give them that feeling, even for a moment, to be their champion and let them feel like a champion even for few seconds. Let them take pictures with it, with their siblings, with their friends, with their family, alone. Just have that moment, that feeling. I understand when wrestlers have been in the business for years and what it feels like to never have held a title. While these outcomes are decided, by someone in a creative, controlling role, it's discussed, it's decided. Imagine what it feels like to be one of those people that don't get that opportunity. Think about Kofi Mania. When Kofi Kingston expressed how he felt about never holding the WWE title, and how all those years and everything he'd gone through, and he never even got a shot. He never even got a match, the chance, the opportunity, the angle, the storyline, nothing. It was never a part of it. Never had the chance. And the passion, the honesty, and people rallied behind him because they felt it. He felt it. I felt it. That was one of the WrestleManias that I couldn't wait to see. To watch Kofi Kingston compete against Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan in WWE for the WWE title at WrestleMania. That meant a lot to see that. Forget the racial aspect of it. I know that was big for a lot of people, and I totally understand that. But this was just another wrestler, someone different who I've been entertained by. I love the New Day. I love the New Day. I love what they represent. I liked them when they were the bad guys. I liked them as good guys. I liked them from the very beginning. And to listen to them talk in interviews and hear Xavier and Big E talk about wanting to see Kofi hold that title. It meant a lot to be able to sit there and witness that. To have the opportunity to witness that. For him to get that title. Here we are again back to this iteration of the title. The WWE title. Its legacy. And the responsibility that comes with carrying it. I don't take it lightly. At all. When these children come up to me again at this event, and there were several, and I'll close with this. There was a young boy. There were some other young gentlemen with him. I don't know if these were his brothers or his friends or cousins or a combination of. And there was one adult with him, the male, and I knew this was his father because of how he called him dad as they were talking. And they came up to me. They saw the belt. They came up to me, and I saw him looking from a distance, and I was going to approach him anyway and greet him, welcome him to the event. But they approached. We kind of met each other in the middle. Okay. And this young fella had his eyes on the belt, and he asked me why I carry it. Was I a wrestler? I told him no. I told him that I was a writer. I had been published thousands of times. And I had earned this nickname of the Word Heavyweight Champion. And that's why I carry the belts. I also told him that one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, had spent time with me here in this hometown. I wanted him to understand the magnitude of it. Like, one time John Cena came here, and he and I sat down and talked for like 2 hours. This great conversation. We talked about movies and video games and fashion, and I was just explaining to him, and I'm watching the look on his face, and he was so impressed. I took the belt off and I handed it to him, and he held it and he looked at it. This look of astonishment, and he couldn't believe it was in his hands, and he was like, "It's heavier than I thought it would be." Yeah, it's pretty heavy. So I asked him, I say, "Who's your favorite in the WWE right now?" And he says, "The Miz." I said, "Oh, The Miz is one of my favorites too. He has been for a long time. He was one of those guys that I always wanted to see be champion. People hated him. I mean, he's got so much charisma, and I loved watching him develop." But anyway, this young man said The Miz. I'm like, "Oh, I like The Miz too." And his compadres behind him are kind of nodding their head, and some of them are shaking their head. And I said, "I bet I know why you like The Miz so much." And he said, "Why?" I said, "You like him because he's..." And I just trailed it off. And then the young man went, "Awesome." And we laughed. His compadres behind him laughed. And then his dad says, "I don't understand what's going on." And he kind of chuckled. And I just look at him and I say, "You should take the time to understand what's going on."
Thank you for listening to Railing with the World Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Joe Walker, on the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast, aka The Whip Show. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and support the platform wherever you get your podcasts from. Follow The Whip Show podcast on all social media, and follow me on Twitter at Mr. Joe Walker. No excuses. Championships only. Be kind, be creative, win.